Thank you, Brother Dawson, for the for the introduction. I've been with you all for, like Marvin said, it was the second go round, but I had already spoken with Marvin a while back and told him that there was some work that he and I had to do, and I didn't know what kind of work it was. But then when he called me and said, I want you to come out in February and talk with the people, I said, okay, well, it must be starting. And then I got another call in June. I said, okay, it must be. It's part of the work that God has established for me to do, and I always want to make sure that I'm doing it, because sometimes it's a struggle. I'll be honest with you, it's a struggle because I have like we all do, we have our own plans and goals and objectives that we want to do, and then God is constantly nagging and saying, have you done my work? You coming to me asking me this, asking me that, but you haven't completed my work. And we're going to see in the book of Jonah, what we've been talking about the last 2 weeks, how Jonah just rebelled and said, I got something else in mind I want to do. And like we all do at times, we got something else in mind. God is telling us one thing, and in our minds we saying, I don't really want to do that, or I really don't want to talk to that person, or I really don't want to be with that group or that association. And God is saying, okay, I'm allow to go on for a little bit, but then I'm gonna bring you right back to that same spot. And so we have to, sometimes we wrestle, and God's saying, hey, I got control of it all. And so we want to make sure that we honor that and continue to try to fall in what God has in store for us. If you have your Bibles with you, or your tablets, or your phone, we're in the book of Jonah. We'll be coming from the 3rd chapter. This is our 3rd series. And just to kind of bring you up, the ones who haven't been on or on Zoom, our first message was Why Are You Running? That was the first chapter of Jonah, Why Are You Running? And it talks about how Jonah got the instructions to go to Nineveh. Jonah didn't want to do it. He went to Tarshish, got in the boat. The boat started rocking, started getting stormy. Jonah said, hey, throw me overboard. And we've all seen the stories of Jonah going overboard and the big fish swallowing Jonah. And then next thing you know, Jonah back at square one. He's saying, hey, I didn't want to go. I was running. And now I'm back at square one. And we talked about eloping. What does it mean to elope? When you run away secretly to get married. Jonah was one of those examples. He was trying to run away secretly, but as we know, God is watching everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go, God is watching everywhere. And one thing that he always gave me, and that's the small, still voice that I always have to hear. He told me that the 2 losses, and I kept saying, God, what are you talking about? The 2 losses. He said, Chad, you can go to Las Vegas and you can go to Los Angeles. He said, no matter what you do down there, I'm still watching. And I kept saying, I kept saying, why you gave me those 2 examples? He said, because Las Vegas, there's a lot of stuff that goes on that he said, it's illegal. He said, but in Los Angeles, he said, there's a lot of stuff that go on. And he said, it's wide open. He said, but you can still go there. He said, don't matter. He said, I'm still watching. And so that's the stuff that he keeps putting inside of me, saying, son, don't turn around. Don't go back. Don't think that you can hide from it. You still got to do what I asked you to do. And so Jonah, in this story, we're going to see how Jonah, he ran away. He said, God, you can't find me. We talked about hide and seek from God. I'm hiding from you, but God is saying, I still see you. And then we go to chapter 2, talked about Jonah's power of prayer. How Jonah was in the belly of the great fish. And sometimes God has to put us in the belly of something. He has to put us in a dark space. Well, we can't see nothing. We got seaweed. Jonah talked about seaweed wrapped around his head. He felt like he was suffocating. And sometimes we have to be in that spot. Sad to say, but sometimes we have to be in that spot. Well, I ain't got nowhere else to go. Jonah, he couldn't talk to nobody. He couldn't call his friends and say, hey, girl, you know what? Man, you know what? No, he was talking to whatever the fish was eating. That was his conversations. And it's sad to say, sometimes we got to be in that water to say, hey, man, I understand what God is saying. And Jonah started praying. Then he started saying, God, you know, I know you've been with me all this time. I know you've been watching me. And that was his prayer. And then we've come up to where we are now. Jonah goes to Nineveh. This is what we're going to talk about this morning. He's talking about, I'm going for real this time. If you into writing down subjects, that would be the subject that you would take from this. I'm going for real this time. I mean, the time that God told you to do it, you didn't do it. And he kept reminding you, and you know you didn't do it. And then other people start reminding you, you still saying, I'm going to do it. And Jonah said, hey, this time, I'm going for real. I'm going for real this time. So we're going to walk down these scriptures. And I have the NIV version. You may have a version that's different from mine, but it all should follow the same. Some have expounded versions. But verse 1 says, then the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. Go to the great city of Nineveh and proclaim to it the message I give you. All right, we want to start right there because that's a lot in there. It says, go to Nineveh and give the message that I give to you. But he talks about a second time. So how many times have we had second times, third times? I know I have plenty of times. If you're married, your spouse, they tell you stuff to do over and over again, and you don't do them. You're like, I'm going to get to it. Yeah, I'm going to get to it. And we don't get to it. Because I'm not going to exclude anybody in this one. All right? If you're a child, your parents tell you to do something, clean up your room, wash dishes, take out the trash. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get to it, and we don't get to it. The teachers tell a student, "Hey, do your homework, do your assignment." I'll do it. And then I grade pop up. You don't do it. You don't study. You don't get to it. But then God tell us to do. Because remember, I told you nobody's excluded from this. God tell us what to do. Because we could get on the kids about doing something. We could get on our spouse about not doing what we asked them to do. But then God is constantly telling us to do something. And we saying, I'm going to do it, God. I'm going to do it. And God saying, when? I ask you over and over again. And then sometimes we say, God, give me a sign. And God said, I gave you a sign. And then sometimes we say, God, give me confirmation. And God said, I sent that person. I sent the text message. You read that email. And you still saying the same thing. And what he showed me was, I have this receipt. And a lot of times we get receipts. He showed me, he said, Chad, show him a receipt. I got a receipt. And a lot of times when we go and purchase an item, what happens? They ask us, do we want a receipt? And he said, yeah. Now they ask you, do you want a digital, paper, email? Any choice you want to take. You could choose all three if you want to. All right, so they give you a receipt. Now what happens if they keep printing out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 receipts? What you'll say to them? Hey, that's enough. I don't need all that. Huh? It sounds crazy, don't it? If they give you about 50 receipts of the same thing, you'll be saying, in your mind, I don't need all that. Why? I don't need all that paper. But it's the same thing now. Follow with me. Don't leave me. Same thing God is telling us. Telling Jonah. I gave you a second time now. How many confirmation, how many receipts I got to keep giving you or showing you? And allow the great fish to swallow you, drop you back on dry land. You done prayed to me. Now are you going to do it? Are you for real this time? Jonah said, yes. All right, so he goes to the great city of Nineveh. Verse 3 says, Jonah obeyed the word of the Lord and went to Nineveh. Now Nineveh was a very important city. A visit required 3 days. In my Bible it said 3 days. All right, so we know that number 3. You don't want to miss that. Number 3 means resurrection. Divine completion or perfection. All right, so we've seen that number 3 before. Remember, he talked about Jonah stayed in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. And we know Jesus what? He rose. All right, so just remember that. All right, so you got to remember the message that God gives you, because Jonah will listen to a lot of messages. We listen to a lot of messages, but we don't listen to the message that God gives us. But we can listen to every other message. Social media are full of them, and you got to have a discernment to know, should I Is this at this time? Man, God is saying, hey, not this time. It might be later. And so Jonah had to say, God, okay, I know you gave me a message before. Now I got to really follow what you said. All right, verse 4 says, on the first day, Jonah started into the city. He proclaimed, listen to his message, 40 more days, and Nineveh will be overturned. All right, so that's all he had to tell them. So listen, God will give you a message. All he wants you to do is proclaim it and tell it. All right, that's the struggle sometimes. God said, you ain't even got to come up with nothing. I'm going to give it to you. You just go do it. All right, it's real simple, folks, but now it's more so it's the struggle is, do I really want to do it? I mean, it's point blank. At the end of the day, it's either we want to do it or we don't want to do it. It's just no, back and forth. God said, hey, either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. Because remember, God could have gave anybody else this message. He could have told anybody else to do it. But he wanted Jonah to do it. Because there's some lessons that he wanted Jonah to learn. And a lot of times we wonder, why are you giving me this message? Why I got to do this? Why I got to be the one to go say I'm sorry? Why I got to be the one to say, ask for forgiveness? Why I got to be one to go tell that person? And God said, it's lessons that I want you to learn. Not so much for the other person. It's more so for you. All right? And so remember that number 40, because those numbers mean something, folks. Number 40 means trials. All right? It means probation and it means testings. All right, so 40 days, in 40 days, there's going to be a whole lot of things going on. In 40 days, all right? If you could, they say if you could stick with something 30 days, 40 days, then you got something. If you can stick with a diet 40 days, then guess what? It's a mindset to change. But sometimes it's hey, 10 days, you off that diet, hey, I want to go back to doing what I want to do. But if you can stick with it 40 days, there's going to be a whole lot of testing going on. All right? Verse 5 says, the Ninevites believed God. They declared a fast, and all of them, from the greatest to the least, put on sackcloth. So listen to this, folks. I didn't know how this was going to connect, but he kept showing me. The more and more I kept digging into it. It said everybody, all the Ninevites believed God. That's something when everybody's on one accord. They declared a fast. They said, hey, we got to make sure the stuff we used to do, we got to clean that up. Because when you fast, you get more clarity on what God wants you to do. Because there's a lot of other, what I talked about, interruptions that come in your mind that make you want to go back to doing what you want to do. From the greatest to the least, put on sackcloth. Everybody said we need a cleansing. If we haven't learned anything else, and I kept telling you, I didn't know how this was connected, why he wanted me to deal with Jonah. If we haven't learned anything else over this last year and a half, remember, everybody went on some sort of fast because we had to stop doing what we normally would do. We had to stop going where we normally like to go. We had to stop seeing what we normally like to see. A lot of stuff had to change from the greatest to the least. Hey, I know you used to doing this. I know you're in that authoritative position, but now, hey, everybody's on ground zero. Everybody's on the same level. Some had to start working. Hey, I know you was making this, but hey, that may have to be cut back. You got to find another way because we're trying to see something now. God is trying to clean some stuff up. And so everybody's on the same level. All right. Verse 6 says, when the news reached the king of Nineveh, watch this, he rose from his throne, took off his royal robes, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat down in the dust. That was a custom that they used to do, to humble themselves, ask for repentance. It says, by the decree of the king and his nobles, listen to this, do not let any man or beast, herd or flock taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink. But let man and beast be covered with sackcloth. What does this sound like? Because I know what it sounded like when I started digging into it. And God started showing me, he said, Chad, what does this sound like? I said, this sounds like what you was doing during COVID, during the pandemic. You was cleaning up some stuff. You was asking everybody to come on one accord. He took me back to 2 Chronicles, and you've heard it all over the pandemic. 2 Chronicles 7:14. In your time, you can read it, but I'm going to read it for you now. It says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. He said, Chad, I'm trying to heal the land. I'm trying to clear some things up. He said, I'm trying to get everybody back together. He said, from the king all the way down, I'm trying to get everybody back together. And we know in our own hearts, some rebel. Some said, I'm going to do it for a little while. But I want to hurry up and get back. You go to different places, and some, they say, hey, wear a mask. Some said, I ain't wearing no mask. I don't care what they say. Some say, hey, stay, social distance from me. Some say, I ain't staying no such. Some say, hey, don't go see your family member. Some say, I ain't going to see I don't care nothing about no staying away from family. I'm going. Look at the story now. That's why I tell people, read it for yourself. Don't take my word. It's in there. But I got to make sure that we're related to today's time. They were saying the same thing back then. I'm trying to get everybody from the least to the greatest, from the greatest to the least, from the king all the way down. But then when we got leaders that saying, hey, y'all ain't got to do it. If y'all don't want to, when it just happened, y'all ain't really got to do it now. And God said, I'm trying to get everybody. I'm trying to get everybody. But Jonah, all I want you to do is go tell them. Chad, all I want you to do is go tell them. Marvin, all I want you to do is go tell them. Leacher, all I want you to do is go tell them. That's all I want you to do. I don't care how you feel about them. I don't care what you say about them. All I want you to do is just go tell them 40 more days. And Nineveh will be overturned. Now, all you got to do is go tell them. You can't take your feelings in there. Because Jonah was dealing with his feelings. If you didn't know, Jonah, he had a lot of feelings involved. And Jonah said, I really don't want to go because I know God, I know you going to, they bad people, but I know if I tell them, you're going to be gracious and you're going to have mercy on them. And that's sometimes how we feel. I just want them to fall. I really want them to suffer. I really don't want them to be saved. Not really. Not fully. I want them to be partially saved, but I don't want them to really change, because if they change, then, and that's what Jonah was dealing with. And we got to make sure that we don't carry that on as well. Verse 8 says, but let man and beast be covered with sackcloth. Continuing verse 8, it says, let everyone call urgently on God. Let them give up their evil ways. Listen to this, and their violence. So you got to give up something. Now God is asking us, hey, you got to give up something. Because 40 days, if not, then you know what's going to happen. Verse 9 says, who knows, God may yet relent and with compassion turn from his fierce anger so that we will not perish. The word relent, it means he may slacken up. he may lighten up. That's what sometimes if we happen to get in trouble and we have to get a whooping or a spanking, and you know what you've done, but the consequence is you just like, I know I got to get a paddling, or I know I got to get a spanking, but I just want mama, daddy, or grandma, or granddaddy, or auntie, or uncle, I just want them to lighten up just a little bit. I don't want the licks to be that hard, and we start thinking that, and that's what they saying, hey God, maybe if we do this, then you may lighten up. Sometimes that's the case, sometimes it's not. But remember, God loves us so much that he said, hey, I'm chastising you. I want to discipline you. Even though I know you're running from me, even though I know you're a murderer, even though I know your thoughts are not what they should be, even though I know you got evil ways, but I maybe you may relent and come back with compassion. And that's what we want in the end. That's why I try to tell people all the time, hey, your calling, your assignment, sometimes I know what you've done, but God has still got something for you to do. You can't get caught up on the guilt trip, the feeling sorry for yourself, feeling pity. God still got something for you to do. And sometimes I don't want to do it. Sometimes I don't want to do it because I'm still stuck on something that happened. And God said, Chad, if you don't get yourself up and start continue to do what you got to do for me. Because sometimes we can stay over here so far right. And God said, man, I got stuff for you to do. I ain't worried about that 10 years ago, what you talking about. And it makes it harder sometimes when others bring it up. And you say, man, I did do that. I did say that. I did feel that way. I didn't want to do that. And God said, okay, deal with it. And then but I still got some, Jonah, I still got something for you to do. So I'm going to cause a great fish to swallow you up, hold you down. Sometimes God will cause things to hold you for a while. And then until you continue to move to your assignment. But you got to keep moving. You can't let stuff stop you. You got to keep moving in the direction that he will have you to go. Verse 10 says, when God saw what they did and how they turned from their evil ways, this is when Jonah got a problem. He said he had compassion and did not bring upon them destruction he had threatened. Remember, folks, you can feel one way about something, and God feels a totally different way because God is in control of it all. Jonah really didn't want the Ninevites to be saved. He really had something against them. But remember, Jonah was who God called. That was his assignment. Jonah, you got to go to the Ninevites, even though they murderers, even though they ain't living right, and you know they ain't living right. And that's a struggle sometimes. What I see mostly why we don't do what we need to do because we caught up on what they doing, and God is calling us to do something different. The conversation I have with people all the time is say, they ain't doing this. I say, I know they ain't, but what God telling you to do? If God telling you to love on them, then you better love on them. If God telling you to go back and tell them something or share this with you, if God telling you to give them something, I know you may not feel it in your heart. I know. And sometimes, like I tell you, sometimes I say, God, I feel the same way. And God said, all right, let me hold you for a little while because I want you to go with pure motives. That's what he's been dealing with me. Proverbs 21:2. I want you to go with pure motives before you go. I'm going to hold you for a little while. I might have to hold you 3 days, 3 nights. I might have to hold you for a week or 2 months until you go with pure motives. Because in man's eyes, we think it's right. But in God, he sees the heart. So God said, I might have to hold you, but I still want you to go. And that's the struggle that we deal with. Because we looking at, well, they doing this and they getting by, and God said, don't look at all that. don't you get caught up in all that. You just go and do what I asked you to do. And so all he asked Jonah to do, Jonah, you just go tell him 40 more days. That's all your message is. And never going to be overturned. All you tell him is about what I give you to tell him. But the part that really got me was that Jonah, he did not love the people that he was preaching to. That's where you got to get to. I feel it. That's for somebody. I don't know, but because I can feel it right now. But Jonah, you got to love the people that God sent you to, that you're assigned to. You got to because Jonah, he telling them one thing, but he really not believing it himself and saying that I'm telling y'all 40 more days the city gonna be overturned, but I really don't want y'all to really change. Because if y'all change it, I really don't have nothing to talk about. Because I like talking about what y'all doing, how bad y'all are. Y'all ain't trying to get right. But then if y'all really change it, I'm like, what I got? But remember, everything we're doing is to uplift him. Everything we're doing is to give God the glory, not man himself. But Jonah, he struggled with that. Because he said, God, you send me to these people. I really don't want to go. That's why I ran in the first place. Because I really didn't want to go tell them. But then you caused all that stuff. You caused the storm to happen. You caused the great fish to swallow me. Then you caused the fish to vomit me back on dry land in the city that I didn't want to be in. Now I'm telling them, now you doing what I didn't want you to do in the first place. But what kind of God is that? That's the same God that gave you second chance, the third chance, the fourth chance. I done got so many chances. I'm like, God, you got to love me. Because you know I ain't do everything you asked me to do and still struggling. And you still saying, Chad, I still got stuff for you to do. I'm still waiting. I still got stuff for you to do. And so Jonah said, I'm really trying, God, and God said, nope. And we're going to see on next week how we're going to finish it up. How Jonah, he had a lot of lessons to learn, and we do too. We got a lot of lessons to learn. He got a lot of lessons, but you got to love the people that God sent you to. And Jonah, he didn't love the people that he was preaching to. He didn't love the people, and so and therefore he didn't love the city. He didn't want it to happen. And if God sends you to someone, like I said, your motive has to be pure. You got to say, okay, I'm going with a pure heart. I'm going with a pure mindset. I don't want nothing from this. I just want you to know that this is what God is telling me to tell you. I don't want nothing. I just want you to know that this is what God's telling me to give to you. I don't want nothing in return. I just want you to know that, hey, he wants me to bless you with this. Or he wants me to give you that. Or he wants me to send you to this place. And in closing, this is what he gave me to tell you in the end was that I was asking about a week ago, maybe longer than that, but it came to me about a week ago. But I was asking, have you ever asked for a return or a refund? All right? And so you're waiting on a refund. Put your mindset in the same mindset that I was. You was asking for a refund and you kept asking. And the people never gave you a refund. They never gave you a return. And you kept saying, God, why it's taking so long for them to refund me my money? You know what? They kept coming up with reasons of, things that, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And so God stopped me in the mid sentence and he kept saying, he says, Chad, you see how you waiting on that refund? Are you waiting on that return? He said, tell my people I'm the same way. I said, what you mean, God? He said, just like when you waiting on a refund or a return on something, he said, tell my people I'm waiting on them to refund me the deposit that I've already given them. I said, okay, I got it. He said, so Chad, tell them. He said, you sitting there waiting on it. He said, I already deposit something in everybody, from the least to the greatest. So that's why I say everybody got a calling. Everybody got an assignment. Everybody got something that they supposed to be giving and preaching. So sometimes you think just because the person up here, no, everybody out there got something. That's what he's talking about. Brother Dawson talking about the baseball player. Justin, hey, everybody got something that they supposed to be doing. And whatever you supposed to be doing, then when you do it, then everybody else starts seeing, man, that guy, he really good at baseball. That might be his calling, to play baseball and still spread the message, because they're going to see, man, he could really play. And not so much his athletic ability, it's his demeanor, is how he carried himself, what he say to his teammates, how he do this, how he do that. And then that's the light that he's supposed to be shedding. You at work, you got something that you're supposed to be giving them co-workers. You're not just clocking in and saying, hey, I'm here, I'm doing my work. But this is what God saying, I'm giving you, I got you on that job to be giving them something. Come on now. Besides just clocking in and doing your assignment. Yes. It's more than that, just that. Your kids, they here for a reason and purpose. They got something that they supposed to be giving. Because God said, I already deposited that in them.
Thank you, God.
He said, I'm just waiting on you to return back what I done gave you. Jonah, I already gave you the message. I'm just waiting on you to return that back to Nineveh so I can go ahead and see if they going to do what I asked them to do. But because Jonah didn't want to do it, guess what happened? That's how we feel sometimes. I don't want to do it. God said, no. Just because you don't want to do it, they still got to be reached. I still want them to at least have a chance to hear who I am. But if you don't never do it, then God said, you still got to go do it. Return what I done gave you. So while you sitting there waiting, God said, hey, go ahead and do what I asked you to do. And that's where we got to get to. You got to love the people who God assigned you to. And that's sometimes, I think that's where I fall a lot of times, because I love people. And so because I love people, that's sometimes my weakness. Because I'm saying, I want to see it happen. But my wife always tell me, that's not always the case. I can get burned every time because that's not always the case. But I want to see that happen. And sometimes that ain't the case. It is what it is. But God is saying, Jonah, if you never do it, it'll never happen. If you never tell them 40 more days, never gonna be overturned. And they had a chance to hear what I'm gonna do. And so we gotta make sure that we continue giving God what He's given us, and we gotta continue to do the assignment that He's called us. Everybody has an assignment. Even little Zoe. Zoe got an assignment. That's why I'm always watching what she's saying, what she's doing. Because I already know she has an assignment. Even the small stuff that she say, every time she see me, she say, "Pick me high." Every time she see me, that's her first word. She say, "Uncle, pick me high." And I kept saying, God, why she always want to be picked up high? Because I'm asking because she got a reason. He said, because she want to be high. She know that's the place where I am. He said, we the same way as humans. We want to be high. But sometimes things happen and it keep us low. He said, but as a small person, they know that, hey, I want to be up there with everybody else. I wanted to do the same thing that everybody else is doing. But just right now, I can't get there. So that's why she say, pick me high, because she want. And then when I pick her high, then she walk around, she say, look, Mama, I'm higher than you. Look, Uncle, look, because she knows that, hey, that's where God wants us. He wants us in those high places.
Amen. Yes, God. Yes,
but sometimes we stuck in where we are.
Come on now.
And we can't see but what we can see. And God is saying, I want you in high places. But you got to turn some things. Some things got to change. Mindset. Things got to change. And I'm talking to myself. Things have to turn. And when you start doing what you're doing, then God will start opening up some doors. So thank you for your time. Thank you again. I told you it's an assignment. And all I'm doing is responding to my calling. It's an assignment.